Okay then. Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, whatever part of the world you're in. And welcome to today's stream. As mentioned in my Twitter post, I am trying out something new, like at least different start times, to see whether this will land well with any of you. Now, the game that I had in mind for today would be not outside of what I usually play, but it will be an interesting one nonetheless. At least to me, and I hope to you as well. You'll see the game that I'm talking about in a little bit, so one moment while it starts up. Let's see, the software should be able to pick it up. Just give it a little bit, and there we go. Okay, I think I can stop beating around the bush for this one. The game that I had in mind is called Rise of Industry, and it's a pretty good game, by all things considered. Loading time certainly takes a little bit longer than I expected, but we should be able to get there. We go. As soon as I started talking.
For an enterprising tycoon, each new day brings new opportunities in your quest for success. Exploiting gaps in the market and meeting demand is all in a day's work for a canny entrepreneur. And expanding your business is necessary if you're to keep up with the times. But with capitalism comes competition. Astute rivals and self-sufficient towns will soon leave you looking for that next niche in the market. And a change of entrepreneurial tactics might be necessary in order to fend off financial collapse. However, be wary of your fledgling setup. A poorly planned infrastructure will grind your business to a halt, and badly placed polluting industry will be sure to harm your reputation and quickly turn your business allies into foes. But the savvy business person will have all this under control with well-executed trade routes by road, water, air, and rail. And a well-targeted PR campaign will soon have those green towns and villages back on side and accepting your goods. All that's left to worry about is what you're going to produce next. For you are an industrialist, and success is in your blood. And who knows what the next new day will bring in Rise of Industry.
Very inspiring, don't you think? Because I certainly think so. Now let me just quickly adjust the volume and we'll be able to begin in earnest. Like that. Now we're not gonna exit that stuff now. The game that we can play, of course, we can either play the standard mode, or we can switch to 2130. See, this expansion is quite different and more difficult than the base game. We strongly suggest you play at least the tutorial and spend some hours in 1930 before heading to the devastated world of 2130. So yes, we can hold off on being future captain of the industry for a little bit. Let's start in career mode. Town name generator for Europe, or at least UK. Normally A players. Name generator for 1930, medium map size. Left road orientation, since we are going to be playing in a sort of United Kingdom. and with an assistant. As for the terrain settings, medium river curvature, 2 coasts, I think we can bump that up to 3, medium resources and richness, no smoothing, maybe a little bit of smoothing, normal lakes and terrain flatness, and at least 2 rivers. Everything else we're leaving untouched. So off we go. Almost there. And there we go. Now then, let's begin by placing the headquarters. We can place it anywhere and it will grant a full permit for the region it's in. If you want, you can disable these helpers in the interface menu. So the game should be paused right now. Fairly big city, Darlington. Some oil over here. And by Swanage as well. Anything interesting near Raby? I see only lumber for now. How about Warside? Nothing as well, it seems. Southwell has a little bit of oil in this river, but I am leaning more towards Swanage for this one, since we have 2 oil deposits fairly close to it. Some copper, excuse me, which will also be pretty good. And decent-sized area for farmland as an onset. So yes, we'll place our headquarters at Swanage, somewhere over here. Please keep in mind that this is an industrial simulator game. Try to find out what towns want. Instead of producing products you might never be able to sell due to not existing demand. So right now, Swanage has farmers market and hardware store. That means they are going to want food products for now. Well, I say food products, and I do mean it. Maybe we can start off with at least a fishing industry as opposed to farming. And then move on to oil. That should be good. See, we got copper, gas, oil, some inland deposits as well. Right over here too. And some fish over in another county, it seems. Somewhat unfortunate. But hey. We can do with this. Now the game is suggesting we start with the lumber yard, and honestly I agree. Should be under, no, not factories. Gatherers, there we go. Lumber yard over here. And 3 harvesters for the lumber yard. And 1, and 2, and 3. Now we're gonna need to connect them with roads, naturally. So in order to do that, we go to networks and a dirt road. Should be good enough, right? Now we just need to wait for the wood to be generated. At normal speed, which is where we are right now, 7.5 real-world seconds. A month has 30 game days and a year is 12 months, as is everywhere else. So we can speed things up a little bit. And wait for them to make it happen. The forest, as you can imagine, will always grow back over time. Here we have the 3 lumber produced. And now, how about we start selling that lumber? So, in order to do that, toggle the route line over to Swanage. Yep, there, destination. We take this lumber and we drop it off. Now, where's their farmer's market? Or at least hardware store. There's the farmer's market. That's a gas station, and this hardware store should be somewhere close by, right? There we go. So I'm guessing we need either a warehouse first, if I recall correctly, or something else, because this is raw lumber that we've got over here. And nobody wants to deal with raw lumber. Pollution, prototype facilities, farms, factories. We haven't unlocked a paper mill just yet. So... Headquarters is where we manage loans. Can also change headquarters appearance once we unlock more tech. So yes, I am leaning towards... Yes, warehouses work as central hubs to distribute products among buildings with its radius or between other warehouses during using logistics requests. We rotate it like so. Now let's not forget to connect it by road over here. We can use a one-way road for that one, although it hasn't been unlocked yet, so we can settle for a dirt road. Like so. Now, we take this lumber, send it over to our warehouse. And from this warehouse, we take this lumber and we send it to the hardware store if they want it. Right now, it seems that they do not want it just yet. We look over here. They want something else. Specifically, they want gas, raw rubber, leather, coal, cotton, oil, sand, and wool. Lumber will be selling elsewhere. Maybe somewhere over at Raby. Yes, they want wood. Therefore, we sell wood over at Raby, but over here we can start mining for oil. Now, in order to sell that oil, we don't need any of these just yet. We're going back to gatherers, and I'm thinking we can go for, where was it? There, oil drill. Which we are, of course, placing over here. Nice and close by, we're only missing 1 out of the 5 oil wells. Of course, do not forget to connect it via the road. Place down the harvesters. 1, 2, 3. Should be good. And as always, we're gonna be dropping off that oil at the warehouse first, or we can send it directly to hardware store, which is acceptable. Now let's unpause the game and see how our efforts will pay off. The good thing about these oil harvesters is that they don't need a road connection. They will automatically send the oil over to the main building. And then it will get picked up and sent over to the store. There goes our lumber as well. And soon enough, we'll start making money. See? First profits from the oil and from the lumber. I do like it when it comes together like that. But now, however, we still haven't gone over the estimated sales, but that should be fixed with the added benefits soon enough. One thing I can consider is to drag a road over here so that our oil trucks are not taking the longer way around. Let's see if it's possible. Somewhere over here, like. Yep. Wonderful. Just what I wanted to see. Now, we need 4 different shop panels from neighboring settlements. We've already seen one over at Raby. Because right now the demand for wood is starting to go down, and the demand for sand is starting to grow. If we go for Swanage, same can be said over here. The demand for oil is starting to go down, while demand for sand is going up. Darlington has been taken over by Water Corporation, and they are already setting up shop over here with, let's see. Yeah, a water well and I'll be supplying water to everyone else. Wellingborough, on the other hand, is an untapped market, and I've got 3 fish deposits sitting close by the shore. So that's something to consider as well. Southwell got Minute Corporation. And there should be another one, right? Or no. That's the 2 of them. All perfectly acceptable. Now, as you can see, oil is starting to produce a bit of a pollution, but that is not a major concern for now. It is far away from a city, and the pollution is not cutting into anything tangible, to put it this way. Not into the arable farmland or any other resources. Now, let's consider what we are going to do with the sand. If we go to the gatherers and open up the sand collector, we will be able to place it down over here and see about collecting sand from this lake. Should be good enough. Yep, like that. And a 1. And a 2. And a 3. Just don't forget to connect them. And immediately after that, we are going to be sending that sand over to Swanage Hardware Store and Raby Hardware Store. We'll see whether they'll produce enough. And if not, we'll need to consider other options. Already you can see the trucks taking the closer route to the hardware store, which is good. And you can definitely see there is a difference between driving on a dirt road and asphalt pavement. Okay, there. We're finally starting to make our money back, little by little, but it still counts. Now, I'm gonna need to remember how to research other things, which was over here, tech tree. If we go over to heavy industry and petrochemicals, we got the oil and the gas. And we can turn oil into refined oil at the petrochemical plant. This should be easy enough. And of course we can also combine oil and gas into plastics, which will lead us towards a lot more lucrative goods like plastic cutlery, buttons, and adhesives. Now if we go into prototypes, we'll get cars, first computers, and pre-made dinners. How about we go with first computers? For that we're going to need buttons and punch cards to turn into interfaces, steel frames and binary switchers into processors, and glass tubes and capacitors into computer memory. So you can imagine that first of all, we'll at least try to get the plastic and then buttons. What else do we need? Punch cards, which are produced at a paper mill, steel frame, glass works and smelter, binary switches at home goods factory, glass tubes also at glassworks and smelter, and capacitors at home goods factory. Home goods are also heavy industry and they take copper to make. First of all, we're of course inventing copper wires and then diodes. And diodes can be turned into telephones or radio receivers. Let's start with an R&D monthly investment for that efficiency. After that, we'll also need to move towards the paper mill, because we cannot survive on selling lumber alone. And by taking wood and water, we're gonna be taking a paper. We're gonna be taking paper. And if we take coal and water, we'll be making ink. However, that is not something we're going to be concerning ourselves with right now. Liquor sounds enticing, but I am leaning more towards wooden planks, which is another basic good. Now we'll just need to get those things researched. Slowly making some money back. We just need to keep on keeping on. No need to expand just yet. Everything will be smooth sailing from here on out. Let's take a look at what else our local hardware store is going to need. Raw rubber, gas, leather, coal, cotton, sand, which we're already selling, and wool. We are supplying them with oil and sand, and can consider supplying them with gas, considering there are deposits nearby. And right now we are selling both sand and gas at a considerable markup of 144%. Which is good, but we're gonna need a lot more if we were to store them. Or at least started working on their extraction efficiency. Yeah, you can see the oil drill is very polluting, but luckily that's why we placed it away from town. Sand collector is also working just fine. Last month's production, 6 units. We can consider tinkering with workers' salary, but that is unavailable for now. What else can we consider? The farms are, of course, not unlocked yet. And we will need to make... There it is, paper mill. However, they do not want paper yet. Neither Swanage nor Raby. They want wool. That is another thing to consider. Now let's go back to research and look at rural produce. I'm guessing. No, that should be livestock. Right? No, not exactly. Where was it? Wool, wool, wool. Fields and harvesters. Traditional storage unit to gatherers. Logistics and administration. Air purifier. Something to consider. Factory storage. There's the urban roads. One-way roads. Chemical scrubber and water treatment plant. For getting rid of pollution. For basic distribution, we've got destination slots, tiles, collection radius, warehouse storage, advanced distribution. There it is, train terminal, which we can use rails, and other than that, Maybe it's textile. We've got cotton. But let's actually consider where we can get, yeah, wool. Wool is taken by feeding water and wheat to sheep. And sheep, of course, are turned into mutton and wool. Well, we have no market for mutton right now. But we do have a market for wool. And in order to do that, once again, we go back to the tech tree. And we unlock livestock. We have the fish harvester. So next we're gonna need a sheep harvester, a wheat field, and we already have the water pump unlocked, which is fine by me. So yes, there we go. Maybe a little bit later, once we have enough money to save up. Because while we are making the money back, I'd also like it if we were to not overspend at this time. Now, what do you have? More water wells, brewery and distillery. Yes, as a water corp, you are speccing over into beverages, which also goes with your sugar field. Now, what are you, Minute Corporation? What do you specialize in? Hmm? You started off with olives. What are you gonna turn those olives into, huh? Olives, olives, olives. They can be turned into olive oil. And when we apply potatoes, they can be turned into chips. How delightfully British of them. Now, would anyone want these wooden planks? Let's check. Warside, would you like some wooden planks to go? Not yet. But you also want oil, sand, wool, and cotton. Also gas. If we look at the farmer's market, they do want mutton. And what about you, Raby? Do you want any mutton? No. They want apples. And finally, Swanage. What do you want? You also want mutton, but you don't want apples. However, you do want fish. No. This fish deposit is unfortunately outside of our area of control, so I'm guessing we're going to be expanding over to Wellingborough. And we're going to be placing down Fisherman Pier. Oh, and of course, we're going to need a full build permit. We do not have access to that one yet. So let's work within our confines. One thing to consider would be to add a livestock farm where we will grow something. And that something, in the confines of Swanage, is going to be either mutton or beef. They also have a demand for potatoes. And that is a fairly easy one to unlock. Maybe we can grow some potatoes at a crop farm. Once the time is up, of course. Other than that... anything else you'd like? Well, the potatoes can be later turned into biofuel at some point in the future. And if we were to combine yeast with potatoes, would make vodka. But that would require barrels as well, and that's carpentry. And we're slowly getting there. Slowly, but surely. Now let's just let nature run its course. And by that I mean let's make some money back from our investment into R&D. So far so good, I'd say. But we will need to consider investing into harvester efficiency at some point. Let's see if there is any relevant research for that. Yes. Gatherer's salary, 75 and 125%. Same for farms, pollution cleaners, and factories. If we go into over here, more destination slots. Maybe we will need an air purifier considering all of this. Let's check the pollution slot. If there is such a thing. Cash flow losing for now. There's our sales. How well are we doing? Well, Swanage remains our main market. Ruby being close second. If we look at the statistics from the last 3 months, we are going down on the expenses somewhat, but the income is still way before everything we've done. Most of it is going towards vehicle upkeep, so we'll need to consider that as well. It's winter already. Merry Christmas, I guess. Since it is winter, we may consider expanding into gas production. I'm sure people will be grateful for that. However, the gas demand is still not fulfilled, but it is at 163% markup. Okay, potatoes are completed, that is good to know. Now, of course, we're not gonna send them off to be planted right now. It's winter. We can start in the spring. We can, of course, grow hops, and hops will, if you can imagine, lead us towards liquor industry, specifically beer. But beer, once again, requires carpentry. And yeast needs sugar to make. Alternatively, we can also grow apples and spec into hard cider, but that is... honestly, no. Not something I'd like to go with right now. Well, at least there is a fairly easy to follow chain over here. Grapes, wine, brandy. But that may be left better to another run. For now, we've decided to tie our income with a heavy industry, and we'd better see it through. Possibly moving towards other entrepreneurial actions. Where was it? Fisherman beer there. Gas pump. Right over here. One, two, three. And do not forget to connect it with a dirt road. I think this time we can actually allow it to build up a little bit. And the oil drill is actually more polluting than the gas pump, it seems. Which means we will need to consider at some point to installing at least an air purifier. Uses water collected from a water siphon or water well to clean the surrounding area of pollution. Other than that, everything is fine, it seems. How much can we store, I wonder? 40. That's acceptable. And we're gonna send it directly over to hardware store. Is the markup still there? Yes, 163%. So we should be able to make some money back off of it. And already our sales are going way up. At least estimated. But it should be alright. This will definitely fix us up. And so went from 8 to 7 millions. Yeah, looks like it is working. We are starting to get our money back. And that is all that matters right now. Just a little bit of an investment, and it is already paying off. Is it still holding up? Still holding up. Partially supplied, just like we want it to be. Also wanted to continue to see the growth with our regard. Yeah, town prosperity is growing. No active contracts just yet. But we are making money. And remember, that is all that matters. However, let's start to consider doing something about this pollution. Or maybe not. It's still too far from any meaningful production centers. And copper over there is definitely not going to be affected by any pollution from gas or oil extraction. Now, if we were to do it in the river, now that would have been much worse. Or on this seaside. That as well. So let's go back to R&D and see what else can we do with petrochemicals. We can start growing raw rubber, which we can turn into rubber proper, and then it into tires and rubber tubes. But who would want those anyway right now? Then refined oil, plastic, and chemicals. Nobody wants chemicals just now. Same with refined oil, they want it raw. We at the moment do not have anything in regards to coal. Oh, and hey there, obese rodent. Always happy to see you around here. I'm trying out New start times, at least at this time. So, right now, we got Swanage under our heel, provided we've got our corporate headquarters here, and we are supplying it. What's this? PR and marketing event. Upkeep of all buildings reduced by 39% for 24 months. Okay. We can do that. Understand that. Have to change my own schedule since I'm on labor wake at night. Also understandable. Let's see whether Minute Corporation and Water Corp will outbid us on this one. I hope not. That would be suboptimal, is the word I'm looking for. And looks like they didn't. Since Swanage is well and good under my heel, as mentioned previously. See? PR event activated over at Swanage. For the next 720 days, upkeep of all buildings is reduced by 39%, which is pretty good by me. Now, as I was saying, since we get Swanage well and truly under our heel, also you can see the town is slowly starting to grow, they are demanding oil, sand, and gas, which we are currently supplying. However, if we look at the farmer's market, they want berries, they want hops, and they want potatoes. Now, they also want fish, but currently we do not have access to any of fish schools in this area. Otherwise, I would have been already on it. Because even this fish settlement is just outside our borders and belongs to Minute Corporation, or rather Water Corporation, excuse me. And they are speccing very hard into making... Let's see, they got breweries and distilleries and... preservation facility. That's new. Haven't seen that one before. Should be also tied into one of these. Home goods. Now, here's what we're going to do. We've got the potatoes unlocked. That's great. We might also consider unlocking either hops or berries. Now, down the line, berries can be turned together with a lot of other components, specifically wheat into flour, flour into dough. So, dough and berries will be turned into berry pies, as an example. But we can disregard all of that for now. What we are going to do, we are going to be at least farming potatoes. Here we go, crop farm. And we are going to be growing potatoes. Now, where was it? There it is. 1 and 2. We rotate it like so. Okay, we can go with either water siphon, uses harvesters to collect units of water from any body of water on the map, or water well, uses harvesters to collect units of water from underground. I am personally leaning towards water siphon because we have a couple of lakes nearby. Now, if this gas pump's pollution starts to spread over to this lake, we'd be in somewhat of a trouble. But it's all right for now. So like that. And the water siphons go here, here, and yeah, the final one should go over here. Like so. Perfect. Connecting them all with a road once again. Just like that. Now there is also a oil. Well, I say a oil, but there are like 5 oil wells nearby, but we're not going to be mining them just yet, since we already have one working practically overtime there. I might need to consider researching a HR department for our collectors so we can bump up their salary. In theory, this should lead to better productivity. And after that, can't forget water siphon, and you go over to this crop farm. And also, do not forget this road. Now, why are you not working? Remind me, cannot reach warehouse. Well, the warehouse is right there. Don't you worry about it. See? Already in range. This should be easy enough for you to follow. And there we go, water is being gathered. Now we just wait for it to reach this crop farm, and after that, the potatoes go into this warehouse, and from there we'll distribute it over to Swanage's Farmers Market. That's the general idea. Town is slowly growing, by the way. Used to be 101k, now it's 104k. Town prosperity growing. Production alert, what do we get? No, the water is reaching you as we speak, worry not. It just takes some time to arrive. This should be enough for you to start growing. Yep, it is. Always good to see. The books are balanced as far as I'm concerned. Now then, we take this farm produce, these potatoes, and we are sending them over to this farmer's market. There they go. Well, not quite. Those should be lumber trucks heading over to Raby. Speaking of Raby, do you have any contracts? Not yet, it seems. Well, there's the lumber we're selling. Have your tastes changed yet? No, you still only want one thing and one thing only. I say that as if things will change. Now, you've got iron ore and coal, actually, somewhere around here. We'll have to see whether it's a big enough investment to spread into. And Warside over here has coal as well. Coal that is currently not affiliated with Water Corporation and can be exploited by us. In theory. In practice, we're still gonna need a building permit over there. So, yep, there it is, state. If you need to buy more raw resources from the state, you can do so from this panel. Note you'll be paying a premium for these products. So that's a way to get off-market resources. What do we have over here? Deliver 59 paper rolls to Warsted, which is over here. Now, as luck would have it, we are starting to go down that tree in paper mill. We have unlocked paper, so we can place down the paper mill. We're just gonna need more water in order to do that. And if we were to place down a water pump, or at least a water well, that should be good enough to do, right? Yeah, somewhere around here. And if we place down those harvesters, 1, 2, and 3. That should be enough in theory to start feeding into both the crop farm and the paper mill that we will be putting down. Oh, but that bid is gonna be taking a bite out of our total balance, so we will need to consider that. $59 paper rolls. By December next year. That's a serious investment. Very serious. Not sure it's gonna be worth it in the end. So yeah, we are not doing that for now. How's it looking over here? Water is being delivered. So everything is fine. Mm-hmm. There we go. Another crop of potatoes gathered. 100% efficiency. That's what I like to see. $107K people, alright. And the potato demand is fully demanded, which is good. Pretty good if you ask me. Still partially supplied on some things like sand and oil and gas. Maybe we'll need to invest something into those salaries. So let's have a look. Basic distribution. No, efficiency. There it is. Gatherers HR. How's your water being gathered? Slowly. Ooh, what's this? 61 paper rolls to Swanage. Now this can be delivered in-house and therefore will cut us down certifiably on the travel costs. Somewhat at least, so we can place our bid down. And immediately start to consider where we can place down the paper mill. I'm thinking a little bit away from the town, like somewhere over here. Should be a good enough spot. Although we can place it closer to the lumber yard, that wouldn't be a bad idea either. Maybe on this hill. Yeah, that should work. Like so. Uh-huh. And then we connect it with the road. There we go. Now that you have a contract to send the products, you need to target the town center, which is under the contracts category. Try to hurry, you'll be fined for half of what the contract is worth. Now we take this water. It's being stored in this warehouse, so we take the water from here. We send it over to the paper mill. We take this lumber, and it looks like we're gonna need to stop sending it over to the other hardware store over at Raby. Instead, we're gonna be canceling that altogether. Let's see, how did it go? As simple as that. Instead, we're going to be sending this lumber directly to the paper mill. And then we're taking this paper and sending it over to Swanage. And now we wait for it to be delivered. Should be good enough, right? Yeah, there we go. However, we're still gonna need more water. Water, funnily enough, is the bottleneck of our production so far. City planner, place 10 buildings within a range of a single warehouse. Well, that took some time to complete. Yes, paper mill is not producing anything just yet. We're getting on it. We just need more water. And most likely we are going to need another water well. Maybe somewhere close by, actually. Wouldn't be a bad idea. Or at least a water siphon on this river coast. Yeah, like that. See? 1, 2, 3. Now we connect all of these. And after that, this should ease up on the delivery. It should be automatically sent over to the paper mill. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Because otherwise, we will be in a bit of a pinch. I'm sure we'll be able to pull through with this. Alright, there we go. First water is being gathered. It's not exactly being sent back up, so I guess we will just place a destination of a paper mill. Now this should be much better now. Yep, here we go. 58 paper rolls to Warside. Once again, I'm gonna disagree because it's on the other end of the map for me. Besides, I already have a contract with Swanage. Should have done that at another time, perhaps. Now, we got the paper, and it is being made. What's our deadline, by the way? A little over a year. Yeah, we will be able to pull through. We are starting to lose a little bit of money, but that is because we've placed down that water siphon. It should be able to fix itself soon enough. We can consider sending the water from paper mill over to there. Big hauling. Transport 25,000 units of products across all playthroughs. But yeah, as I was saying, we can consider stopping sending the water from that warehouse to over there, because that is suboptimal. Instead, well, we can consider sending that water directly to our crop farm. Funnily enough, the potatoes still grow even when it's winter. It's just something to consider, as they say. But hey, we are starting to deliver the paper, which is pretty good. And Swanage is at 113k population. There we go, Gatherers HR. Now let's see what efficiency will change. If we go to 125% salary, will the efficiency go up? Yes, the efficiency will go up. Also, let's see. Does this impact the pollution? No, but it of course impacts the building's upkeep. Oh, and the paper mill itself is also producing a little bit of pollution. So, it's time for us to finally consider investing into the air purifier. Because otherwise the paper mill will start cutting into some of our... What was the correct word? Some of our available resources, yeah. Okay, now that you're all settled in, ready to talk about paying back that money you got at the start of the game. That was a starter loan. It's a no-interest loan with very low payments that needs to be paid off. I was hoping we weren't gonna get to that point. I'm just gonna need a little bit more time to pull through on this one. $63 paper rolls to Southwell. That is, once again, too far away from me. Besides, it's a home to Minute Corporation, so no. Not gonna be doing that one. Just gonna need to recover that. And by that I of course mean our current investments. Into the paper mill. Now where was I? Right. We're canceling that. And we'll just let the water build up over here. Now, can we send the potatoes that we do have somewhere else? Does Raby want potatoes? No, they do not. What about our other near neighbor in Darlington? I'm sure you're somewhat thirsty from all the drinks you're consuming, and I think potatoes would go nice with that. Also, look at you being all spread out and suburban. No. You like chicken meat and eggs. Let's try and look a little farther. How about Wellingsboro? Also no. Southwell? Now Southwell already has its demand fully met. And that leaves us with Warside. Warside, would you like some potatoes? Also no. I guess this is it. We're just gonna need to wait until we invent... What was it? Yeah, we're just gonna need until we invent either cooked vegetables or chips. And chips, of course, take oil and paper. By oil, we are, of course, talking about olive oil. And cooked vegetables also take olive oil and regular vegetables, which we can also turn into soup with application of water. Decisions. Alright then. Let's consider what our other options are, because evidently we are losing money at an unsustainable rate. How about we increase a little bit of spending over the paper mill, but that would require us to research the factory HR. Now, air purifier uses water collected from water siphon or water well to clean the surrounding area of pollution. Let's see about placing it right across the paper mill. It should be taking the water in automatically from the water siphon, at least that's what I would like to believe. If not, we can always just do this. Paper mill already has enough water stored, along with lumber, to be turned into paper. Should we fail this contract, we are in serious trouble and we can consider ending the game there. But there we have the immediate effects. PR and marketing at Wallingsboro? No, that's first of all too much, and we do not have anything placed there, so you have fun. Okay, there. We already have pollution from the paper mill combated, and we're starting to do the same to the oil drill. Which is all very fine by me. Maybe it will even start fixing up our balance issue, but I highly doubt that. Yeah, I'd say going into this somewhat unprepared and not remembering what exactly to do to not get into red until we can no longer sustain that was not the best solution. Therefore, we will need to consider what to play next. And I think I got just the right idea for that. Now, I will be returning to you at some point in the future. Don't you worry about it. However, let's see what that other game I had in mind. It would be... Or was it right on Steam? So if we go over here, and that one is there. I was looking up the name for to update on the streaming. And there it is. You should also be able to see it in a little bit. At least in theory. There we go. That one was another demo that attracted my attention a little while ago. All in all, it looks like a decent successor to Advance Wars, with some new gubbins added here and there. See? Demo is available until 14th of October. So let's go over the basics, first of all. Listen up, Lieutenant. The word is you're good, but I'm not trusting you with my soldiers until I see what you're made of. Sir? We're going to play a little war game. A head-to-head challenge. Let's see if you've got the skills. We'll keep it simple with just a few unit types. I got this. Tanks can move and fire in the same turn. However, your longer range units are limited to one action, either move or fire. I suggest using your artillery to strike that tank by the river before it advances. And we're gonna do just that. We select the artillery, And we fire. See? Very advanced wars, like... Nice. Now give orders to the rest of your units. You can press escape to finish your turn when you are done. Also, let me bump up the game music a little bit. There we go. Now, first of all, we take this recon, we move it up. Now we take this infantry and start capturing this city. Just like in Advanced Wars, cities will give us more income the longer we control them. Now we take the tank, and we blast that recon. Almost got him. And we'll move up our second tank. Once I have enough money saved up, we will be able to afford something from either a factory or a boot camp. Or I think the correct word is, yeah, barracks, excuse me. And turn. Let's see what Beckett has to offer. Yeah, that's a suicidal charge if I've ever seen one. There are his tanks moving up. You learn income at the start of each turn. The more properties you hold, the more income you generate. Use ground infantry units to capture empty structures. If a structure is under enemy control, you'll have to clear them out first. Most units can attack structures, which is definitely an improvement from the basic Advanced Wars. Now, we've placed it down at 2. It's grown to 4 since the next turn. Next up, I'm thinking we'll move you up. So this is outside of our firing range, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So our firing range on this one should be, yep, highlighted if we click on the right mouse button. Cannot shoot at enemies close by to it, but, as is befitting of artillery, it can shoot up to 3 tiles away from itself. So I'm thinking we place it over in this forest, and let that infantry try and take the city from us. The rest of you try to move up and see about dealing with that infantry. That had to hurt. I'm glad these are dummy rounds. You'll need to eliminate all my units to pass this test. So we've got 2 recons, 2 tanks, and 1 infantry unit. With the possibility of him back doing more, or rather producing more, out of the factory and the barracks. By the way, let's look at our options. We've got the truck, which is just your basic infantry transport. The buggy, which is great against infantry and other light vehicles, not so much against anything else. There's the artillery, good against everything not up close to it. And we've got the tank. All's pretty self-explanatory. As for the infantry, we only have access to basic infantry right now. Good for capturing buildings or fighting against other infantry. Not so much against anything else. Up next. Yep, as expected. They try to do that, and they'll be very sorry. Here come the tanks. And yes, they have produced artillery. You can spend funds to produce new units. Vehicles are built at the factory, and infantry are trained at the barracks. For this exercise, we're keeping things simple with a limited number of units, but once you're ready, the full arsenal will be at your disposal. Select the factory with the left mouse button to see your production options. As we've already done, since we've already have enough money saved up, I'm thinking we go towards another tank. As you can imagine, enemies in the river have a reduced defense, and are therefore completely blasted out of it. Now, we are, of course, gonna take some casualties when faced with fresh enemy tanks, but the artillery should take a priority in being dealt with. Because it is a very dangerous opponent if left unattended. Oh, and up next I'm thinking we take a truck and we'll grab that infantry over to there. Yep, our recon gets mauled. But on the bright side, the enemy has deigned it not to advance any further. With the money we have, I'm thinking we can also place another infantry unit. And then a truck. I suppose we can also start hitting any of the other tanks that we have here, or we can take it and we can deprive them a little bit of their production capabilities. We'll let them come to us. This does leave our artillery somewhat exposed, but they should be able to reach it with only one tank. And the recon, but that one doesn't count. See? They chose to try and decapture all of the buildings that they can reach. Which is exactly what we are going to do as well. %25% strength against recon, and they will hit back with 63% strength, which is suboptimal to say the least. And there. That's their factory dealt with. We'll be sacrificing artillery for that one, but I assure you this will all be worth it. We still have 2 of our tanks, and they are limited to just 2 tanks. Yep. They hit the defenseless trucks, and they produce infantry. Now we move away and hit them with our tanks. Nice and easy. Let's see if the forest will offer any meaningful protection. It did, to an extent. Now you stay where you are. And let's get us a second artillery, just in case. It's all in the bag, if you ask me. See? Just like that. You know, I'm starting to think you might be the real deal. And here I was going easy on you. Careful now, Lieutenant. Yes, sir. Mission accomplished. On to our next one. This demo has only 3 missions so far, but I'd say they're pretty good. What the? Wastelanders? Here in the forest? This far in? But why? Doesn't matter. No more practice. I trust I can deal with them. You couldn't deal a pack of cards. Cards? I only deal in knockouts. Each faction has its own unique units. We specialize in heavy armor, like the Rhino and the Giant. The Rhino is especially useful for smashing through tight spots. Get that rhino moving and knock that buggy out of the way. See? We take it, and we shove it off into the river. Like so. Hey, no fair! And that is our giant. We'll see it up close over here. Pretty good against even ships, considering it's got a big F-off cannon. And his machine gun that it's got up top is good against anything smaller. We still, however, need to be careful about it. I've got a sizable force coming in, including some rocket artillery. So we need to think strategically about this. You can start crossing the river to get to these towns. And they will get an advantage in these. Now, our next infantry unit that we have unlocked is the sniper. As you can imagine, it's pretty good against other infantry, and since it's a high-caliber rifle, it's good against light vehicles as well. Still no good against armor or ships. The second infantry type of unlocked is the medic. I don't think this one merits an explanation. Now this giant over here, I'm thinking we can place over here and wait for them to come to us through this tight spot. Infantry and sniper will remain where they are. What other units do we have unlocked? We've got the IFV, which is better than a truck in every way, since it can shoot back with its machine gun. We've got our own rocket artillery, but that one will require a lot more money to unlock. We've got Sam, which is kinda useless at this point in the game. There's the Rhino that we can buy, useful to know, and the Giant, which also costs a lot more. But let's see what the enemy's move will be. Yep, as expected, they're capturing everything they can get to. And they're starting to file towards this direction. Acceptable. Acceptable so far. Just come a little bit closer, and we'll be able to discuss this like civilized men. Also, let's get us an IFV. And maybe another squad of infantry. The forests should offer decent protection. And they've got snipers of their own, it seems. Also, good to know that the IFV has 2 infantry slots it can occupy. Should say so over here. Should say so over here, right? Doesn't seem like it. Or maybe I'm just not looking too good into it. What we will need to consider is getting a medic at some point. But that one, of course, will only be available once we hit, or rather, when our infantry gets hit. What we need to do right now is to prioritize both the enemy tanks and the rocket artillery. Everything else can be dealt with. So just come a little bit closer, and we'll see what you're made of. Uh-huh. Regular artillery, I see. Oh, that was a mistake. But hey, at least it can serve as a distraction for now. A little bit of damage. Other than that, how about you deploy over here? Even if just for a distraction. Also, looks like snipers function kinda like infantry, or rather artillery, in the sense that they cannot shoot enemies immediately close to them, which gives them that much of a disadvantage. Let's see if our gambit pays off. Uh-huh. There's the rocket artillery firing. Mm-hmm. Now can we shove you off elsewhere? There goes one of their tanks. We get a second sniper down. And at least we deprived them of that artillery. Let's keep them distracted somewhat. And consider getting us our own rocket artillery. Next turn, we're definitely gonna need to get us a medic. With an IFV, most likely. Should be good. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And he keeps throwing out these snipers. And we've done it again. Wonderful. Now you get out of my sight. And you are gonna get mauled to the extent that it's allowed. Which is not much. Still, it's honest work. For honest pay. You can start falling back. Although you might be sniped by the snipers, which is highly unfortunate. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yep, as expected. However, let's get rid of that final tank once again. Should be good enough. And start working on their production base. Auf Wiedersehen, Dummkopfen. Yeah, this is definitely gonna be a little easier now. At least that's what I'd like to believe. Chip damage to keep you on your toes. Mm-hmm, as expected. Can you reach them from there? Of course you can. That's what I'm paying you to do for... That's what I'm paying you for anyway. What's your radius? Definitely bigger, but we cannot reach them just yet. On the other hand, that's what we have this recon here for. We can pull you back across the river and let them come to us. Not enough money for anything serious just yet, so let's see about dealing with those snipers. They're getting annoying. And then we can start considering dealing with the artillery. Ow, that was a bit unexpected. On the bright side, they are throwing themselves at our recons. Oh. That's not what I wanted to see. Guess we're gonna have to deal with you appropriately. Just need to save up a little bit for that final IFV and we should be good. Yeah. I'd say we're doing all right. Uh-huh. The tank, however, is a wrench in the works. Not gonna lie. Good thing we have enough money saved up for a tank of our own. And we will need to see about dealing with that factory as well, otherwise they will start throwing more and more stuff at us. Do I want to move you away? No, I don't think I want to move you away for now. And up next, we will need to consider getting maybe a truck for that infantryman, although no. He can make his way over to the next village. Let's see what they have for us. Oh, of course they're gonna be using a tank. To deal with that, wouldn't have expected anything else from them, and they keep spamming snipers. Which on one hand is acceptable, as long as they keep walking into our line of fire. On the other hand, this is getting somewhat unacceptable. We might want to need to save up for another rhino. That would be good. He says as he orders a second sniper for himself. You stay put where you are. Uh-huh. Come a little closer. Deoccupied. And we can start taking over you. Keep at it. Maybe also deal with that rocket artillery. Getting another rocket artillery of our own won't be the worst of ideas. They got more view range, but they also have less main gun ammo. But then again, it's not too big of a concern right now. What is a concern is that we are starting to fall behind on the front line. And that is no bueno. Time for some chip damage. Acceptable. They'll take down this tank. Or, I suppose not. Once again, they're bringing in a rocket artillery. Okay, that one's dealt with. Good. Maybe I will get a truck just so that I can order another infantry squad for extra mobility, because the snipers will start to get annoying and do chip damage to the Rhino, or rather Giant. Then again, the snipers should be alright against lighter vehicles. And the IFV is classified as armor, so it's definitely better to wait for next turn and then order an IFV. Yeah, that should be good enough. Of course, rocket artillery blasts it away. The recon throws itself away. And they get another tank coming in. You out of my sight. You get captured. And you maybe will be able to deal... Yeah, you're outside of the rocket artillery range, so go wild. Acceptable. Stay outside of the artillery range and let them come to us. Just come a little closer. We won't bite. Oh, come on. I was fairly certain you were outside of their range. Bastards. Well, I guess I'll just have to go over there and voice my displeasure personally. Inside, and we are leaving. The snipers should be able to shoot back. And we're doing pretty good, old son. Maybe I can also move you up a little bit closer as bait. Or it would be wasteful. In any case, people will die. But it's better if they die in an organized manner, as the saying goes. How much for that Rhino, by the way? 18,000. We only have 14. Right, that was a bit of a distraction, but we will be able to continue where we left off. Okay, the plan is as follows. We take our IFV over here to serve as a distraction. We deploy infantry to try and take away that city. And we continue using the snipers as bait for rocket artillery. Or actually, we should be able to deal with that momentarily. Almost. Now it's basically useless. We'll move them up, and we'll see whatever pops out of it. And we also give a little bit of a kick to the enemy tanks. Now they're pretty much at the same power level, and we are good to go. Acceptable. They get another artillery out. We continue depriving them of their industrial base. Now, can we? We can. We absolutely can. Wonderful. Just what I like to see. Not even exaggerating. And let's throw in that other rhino back. Can also move up our sniper a little bit. And see what else will they be able to produce come next turn. Nothing we cannot handle. All right. As expected, and they get another rocket artillery out. Disappointing. But nothing that cannot be dealt with. I hope there will be another unit that can heal up our wounded tanks. Or at least something that can be used to mitigate it, besides the obvious. Alright, yeah, this is starting to look good. As good as it gets, anyway. With all of that, we should be able to outpace them in terms of production. And maybe we can also get us another artillery. As expected. You, in the meantime, continue moving towards their barracks. Once we deprive them of any means of protection, it's all over for them. They're afraid. They're definitely afraid. I think there are ways we can remedy that. We shove them off over to the mountain. Which does mean that they are... there are terrain effects which have their limits. On the bright side, they get shoved into a mountain. and they died. They bust out another tank out of this, I'm gonna be severely disappointed. Oh, they did get rocket artillery instead. Can we deal with it? Not from this angle. Also looks like we cannot take position in any of the cities. Somewhat unfortunate. Let's use our artillery as distraction, or maybe they are gonna use... are gonna be shooting at our giant. Suboptimal. Suboptimal indeed. Oh. I guess it counted as a friendly fire, because we just shoved our own IFV into the enemy city, and it died, alongside the enemy sniper, but, well, good to know that this system works as well. Also, it appears snipers can decapture enemy production facilities from a distance. That is also good to know. All in all, this already feels like Advanced Wars 2.0. Okay, as expected, shooting at artillery, producing nothing. Move up our own, and with that, they are deprived of production facilities. Now we're just gonna need to finish off the stragglers. Shouldn't be too hard, if you ask me. That's about everyone, and we even have enough money to order us another giant. Will wonders ever cease? Most likely not. Okay, is it time to wave bye-bye to you? Should be now. Don't get too comfortable. This was just practice. And there we have it. Mission accomplished. Ooh, we get a choice, it seems. This one, I'm guessing, will teach us about the Navy, and that one will take the fight to the Wastelanders. Let's go for that one first. Looks like no one's been here for a while. Yes, the Riverlands have been empty for some time now. Secure the island and set up an operating base before the enemy can mobilize. We can use our helicopters to carry a landing team to the island. They're equipped with light-to-lift infantry as well as light ground vehicles. Troops, let's move. Get those choppers loaded. They get 3 units carry limit, and of course light vehicles take up 2 slots. That is to be expected. Out we go. Tank, artillery, 2 infantrymen, recon, and a SAM vehicle. Units can take their full turn when unloading. We can launch attacks or capture objectives straight from the helicopter. That's what makes airdrops so effective. Leverage them to control the battlefield. We are just going to need a little bit more time to deal with all of that. You can stay where you are for now, and we can deploy that rocket artillery right there. Now come a little closer, please. And let's get our first tank up and running as well. Shouldn't have done that. Now they get their own rocket artillery. Let's also deal with those nasty SAM sites. Or rather, SAM vehicles. Otherwise, we are in for a world of hurt. Next time, I'm thinking we'll save up a little bit. Although, we can airdrop a buggy right next to their artillery. And that shouldn't be too bad of a plan, if you ask me. As expected. Here comes their artillery. Like so. Anything else we can do? Not yet. Just either a sniper or a medic, but I'd rather save up for another tank. The tug of war begins. And hello there, bitch. You are about to be annihilated. That was expected as well. What's the damage? Negligible. Good so far. Very good if you ask me. You, in the meantime, continue advancing. Or maybe we get you inside and cut off their supply base from that angle as well. That should be worth looking into. Some more damage here, and you can get pulled back. Yes, looks like we are good to go. Highly unfortunate. But let's deal with that tank, first of all. Secondly, deal with that rocket artillery, and you can start throwing yourselves at this buggy. Alternatively, we can also get us another rocket artillery and see about... But no, considering they are producing enough artillery as is, let's focus our efforts on IFVs instead. An IFV and an infantry squad. I'm sure you'll be able to take that one down finally, yep. That leaves you as bait for the artillery, which is unfortunate, and you have my condolences. However, we are going to use your sacrifice to the best of our abilities in denying enemy this resource base. We should be good. As expected. They got another rocket artillery popping out. We, in the meantime, continue shelling them from our end. You get inside, we get us another buggy. And the destruction IFB. Now start working on those production facilities. Good so far. The artillery shoots at the recon, right? No, the rocket shoots at the tank, and the artillery shoots at the recon. And they pop out a tank of their own. So far, so good. That means you can start flying over here and start dealing with that artillery. You, in the meantime, continue out. That's a city decaptured, which means less money for them. Let's try to get our city decaptured over there as well. And we can get another tank ready to replace this one. Yes, everything is going okay so far, it seems. Now, if we take this and start doing some chip damage, this is working out all right. Nothing else we can do in here for now. So let's see. I'm guessing rocket artillery will start attacking this tank, yeah? Or our own rocket artillery. This artillery will start attacking the IFV, and the sniper will take pot shots at the recon. The tank is then going to drive up to one of our own tanks to deal some damage to it, and this recon will try to finish off one of our infantry squads. Let's see if my predictions are correct. Yes, on that one. Yes, on here as well. Yes. Also yes. And yes as well. And they got another tank popping out, which is suboptimal if you ask me. But what can you do in these dire times? Now finish off the sniper. Start shooting back at the artillery. This is somewhat suboptimal, and I will be the first to admit that. However, this does give us a little bit of a leeway. Let's see, the next steps should be about the same. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And another sniper. Very good shot. We will die if we try to do that. So I suppose we can... Or maybe not. Let's save up for another artillery. In fact, we are starting to lag behind in terms of combat capability. Will this be enough? Not quite. This should be enough. I might get mauled in this turn. So how about we save up for a rhino for some appropriate action. Now I say that, and I of course am still using my troops elsewhere. But if we hold them off at these bridges, we should be good enough. At least in theory. We'll have to see how the situation develops after that. Uh-huh, as expected. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's another thing that we recaptured. Now we'll have to see how it all develops from here. Uh-huh. As expected. We'll disable that rocket artillery. Their tanks are starting to head this way. And that honestly terrifies me somewhat, because we are in a position to get crushed. So I suppose we can deploy a tank of our own over there, but that leaves our this flank exposed. Somewhat exposed. They got artillery coming in. However, they only have an artillery unit and a recon unit, which will be able to deal with easily enough. These tanks, however, will need a distraction. If you keep spamming snipers, this will definitely help us. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Survivable. You, in the meantime, continue denying them resources. Just a little bit more, and we'll be able to get an IFV to deal with that recon and possibly serve that as a distraction. Mm-hmm. Good hit. Yeah, you keep trying to do that. Our medics still survive, as does our infantry. Aha, rocket artillery of their own. Can we deal with those? I think we can. Yeah. And that means deploying that IFV is a good choice. Suboptimal, but still, it won the battle. The medics should be able to heal themselves up. Our infantry is decently up, as is the tank. Might as well throw in that recon too. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay. Nothing out of the ordinary so far. You, in the meantime, get ready to get inside of the helicopter. One less to worry about. And yeah, we have practically won this, unless they throw out something nasty. Like another tank. But that one should be easy to deal with. Because I think it's time for us to get a Rhino. I love this goofy unit. I genuinely do. Uh-huh. And that one's dealt with too. And you can stay where you are for now. If we shoot them back, they will of course shoot back harder. So let's place our tank in this forest, while dealing with a sniper too. Now, who the tank will go after? Our own tank, as expected. Oh, friendly fire isn't. And that was definitely a misplay. Let's see what their next move is going to be. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. All perfectly survivable so far. As expected. At least now we can tell that tank to shove off. That's a little bit more difficult to deal with, but nothing that we cannot handle. Same with that rocket artillery. And let's get another tank of our own. After that, it's just a matter of mop-up, specifically these 2 points. Uh-huh. See? Just as I told you. Now let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Daylight's burning, as they say. As expected. And the rocket artillery. And in order to deal with you, I'm gonna actually save up for a giant, because you are that special, my friend. Don't ever forget about that. Anyone else looking for a fight? Don't think so. Uh-huh. You can run, but you cannot hide. You know that? Of course you do. Otherwise, you would have been done with that already. Can't quite reach you, but I can slow you down. Uh-huh. Everything's coming up Millhouse, as a friend of mine would say. Although I loathe to use that phrase in all honesty. And there we go, mission accomplished. We just needed to kill off all of them. But depriving them of production facilities also helps greatly. Now then, what else do we have? One final mission here. What is this place? We're at the edge of the Great Desert. It's so hot. Nothing but sand for miles. I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Hey! I do hope that's not your best dialogue. I'm guessing once again the target over here will be to destroy all enemy units. What do they have? 2 infantry, recon, 2 tanks, artillery, rocket artillery. We start with 2 tanks, recon, IFV, 2 infantry, and a sniper. Plus, they also start with 2 cities, a factory, and a barracks to boost their income. We should do the same. Might be lagging behind, but it's gonna be worth it. This, I'm guessing, functions as a forest. And you stay where you are. Also, a new commander, Blaze. Are you out of your mind? You can't just roll into our desert like this. Wait, let me explain. Too late, I've got a tight schedule and you're in my way. I hope you brought sunscreen, because it's about to get heated. I hate this place. I think it's prudent that we order an artillery unit. And all of you, back in. Well, some of you, back in. And I'm thinking you can start going there. We'll drop off a sniper to get that city, an infantryman to get this city. The rest of you remain in forests. Or at least where you are. We'll let them come. Ouch. Let's draw some fire away, or actually hit them in the flanks. Like that. You can stay over here for now. You'll provide some distraction. And you will be distraction as well, at least for their artillery. Or they'll throw a tank at you, which is also acceptable. Uh-huh. Ooh. Yes, it's all right so far. Not a lot of money just yet, but we can do some damage with our own tanks. Anything else we can call in? Maybe an IV? But then again, rocket artillery is pretty good against regular armored. And it's equally good against light armored as well. But considering they're only producing infantry so far, maybe it's prudent to get us a second IFV. Even if it's a bit of a distraction. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Another... Ouch. And they get their own tank. I guess you'll continue staying there as a distraction for the tank, or just keep on keeping on. Let's also get us a sniper. Oh. The situation is not necessarily developing into our favor. Definitely. Now, looking at the time. I'd hate to end it on this note, but it seems like I am being called away to somewhere else. I definitely should have done with a bit more forewarning in regards to the start schedule, but we can work out those kinks along the way. In the meantime, I'm gonna be beating this demo on my own at some point in the future. And for now, I'd like to thank you all for attending, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.